and welcome to another episode of the program. We start off with business news. In the last 3 months, the federal government, as of 2023, raked in 2.33 trillion naira in value-added tax, VAT, and company income tax, a decline from 2.73 trillion naira, which it made in the preceding quarter between July and September last year. This is a 14.7% decline in tax income compared to the third quarter income. The depreciation had come from a 35.4% depreciation in CIT quarter-on-quarter, despite a 26.61% growth in VAT income for the government. Now, according to the latest data released by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS), aggregate VAT for Q4 2023 was reported at 1.20 trillion naira compared to 984.07 billion naira recorded in Q3 2023. Now, the NBS noted that local payment recorded were 630.00 billion naira. Foreign VAT payments were 326.27 billion naira, while import VAT contributed 244.04 billion naira in Q4 2023. Now, on a quarter-on-quarter basis, agriculture, mining, and quarrying recorded the highest growth rate with 63.75%, followed by the other service activities with 61.98%. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has re-emphasized that banks are barred from paying dividends to shareholders or spend on operating expenses from foreign currency revaluation gains, but are expected to set the gains aside. In a circular from the Apex Bank on Thursday, signed by the Acting Director, that's the Banking Supervision Department, Adetona Adedeji, banks were warned against such move. Subsequently, CBN Director, Banking Division Department, Haruna Mustafa, said the Apex Bank said the new directive was expected to be implemented immediately. Back in September, the CBN had directed deposit money banks to stop utilizing gains from their foreign exchange revaluation for dividend and operational expenditures. In the circular, the CBN assessed the consequences of the recent FX rate regime change on the banking system and identified its potential to substantially impact the naira values of banks' foreign currency assets and liabilities. We'll take a break here and return with company news. Welcome back. Now, the President and Chairman of the Council of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Samuel Agbeluyi, has charged new licensed tax practitioners to uphold ethical standards while discharging their duties. Agbeluyi made the call during the presentation of practicing license certificates on Wednesday in Lagos State. According to him, the institute expects practitioners to always refer to the provisions of its charter, professional rules and practice guidelines, and the statement of taxation standards. He also disclosed the institute's expectation for tax practitioners to hold in high esteem its core values, which had been redefined as service, teamwork, excellence, and professionalism. Notor Chemical Industries has announced the appointment of Femi Agbaje as the new chairman of its board of directors. The appointment comes more than 3 years after former Nigerian head of state Yakubu Gowon retired from the company's board on January 28, 2021. In a statement submitted to the Nigerian Exchange Limited, Otivo Saleh, the group chief legal officer and company secretary, mentioned that Agbaje's appointment will last until the completion of the company's private placement transaction. Agbaje, who currently serves as a non-executive director of the company, previously held the position of chief financial officer until September 2018. The chairman transitioned to banking after working at Arthur Young Oshindero and Moret from 1984 to 1986. His banking career started at the Nigerian American Merchant Bank in 1986, eventually leading him to become the managing director of Midas Bank before leaving the industry in 2006. We'll take another break here. When we return, we'll discuss how high interest loans threaten SMEs operation in Nigeria. That's according to the National Institute of Credit Administration. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The National Institute of Credit Administration, NICA, has called for the provision of loans with low interest rates and easy repayment conditions to enhance the profitability of small and medium enterprises in Nigeria. According to a statement signed by NICA's Chief Executive Officer, Chris Onalo, the institute says a business-friendly loan will encourage new and existing business owners to borrow to start new businesses and grow existing ones. NICA had raised concerns about the detrimental effect of high interest rate loans on the viability of SMEs across the country. According to NICA, the key to fostering a robust environment for the growth and expansion of SMEs lies in the provision of business-friendly loans. It also advocated support that will boost businesses in Nigeria as they provide many of the population a livelihood. NICA says access to cheap loans will provide more finance to SMEs, reduce their debt repayment burden, and increase capital for expansion as they pay less over the loan. Well, to do justice to this appeal by NICA, the Managing Director, Lloydon Exposures, Lloydon UK, is my guest on the program. Thank you for your time, Lloyd. Now, as a business owner in Nigeria, how challenging has it been obtaining loans from financial institutions in the country?
Yes, indeed, it's not been an easy call as a business owner to obtain loans from the banks. For starters, banks are generally, now speaking, banks are risk averse. And in banking and in financial sector, when we say that a company or a system is risk averse, what we simply mean is that they are morbidly afraid of taking risks. And they're not prepared to accept. In the case of banks now, banks are unwilling to offer loans to customers. And when you look at the responsibility and functions of banks, apart from accepting depositors' funds, banks also, and apart from doing letters of credit to those who want to buy stuff, banks have the responsibility to extend facilities, loans on behalf of the Central Bank of Nigeria to businesses and to individuals who would require loans to run their business. Nigeria has been for a long while now aversion towards the risks involved with issuing loans. So because of that, it's been tough as a business person, and not just ourselves, but also indeed with the banks, marketers, credit officers, telling you it's possible, asking you to bring this document, to perfect this document, do this and do that. And then you make these things available either through your accountants or your financial, your lawyers, and these things are provided. And in the last run, the banks bail out on you. What you hear is that, oh, sorry, we're not able to give these loans. So in the end, banks are unable to provide loans to those who actually need these loans.
Now, the challenges which you have mentioned are part of the major reasons why NICA has called for the provision of loans with low interest rates and easy repayment conditions. Now, how much will this enhance the profitability of small and medium enterprises in Nigeria?
The institute has actually done what they are supposed to do, and we would say They've done a noble venture by calling for better provision of facilities and loans to businesses, because in the real sense, businesses thrive when they are able to have funds to run their operations. Between a number of indices that help businesses to grow, one of the most critical aspects of running a business and sustaining a business is cash flow. If you want to know whether a business will stand or not stand, doesn't matter whether it's actually making so much profit or not. When you look at the cash flow statement of any business, it tells you whether there's a future for that business or not. So cash issues are critical to the survival of businesses. And so the Institute of Credit Administration has actually hit the nail on the head by saying that there should be provision for credit lines, credit facilities to businesses. Principally because when you have small businesses thriving, running, holding their heads above water, what you're doing in effect is that you are galvanizing the process of increase in domestic products of countries, of our nation. Whereas you have the big blue chip companies employing 5,000, 3,000 workers, employees, you can actually, on your fingers, count the number of large companies, blue chip companies that would, that are providing employment services in the economy. Whereas also when you have small businesses, micro and small business enterprises, when you have SMEs thriving, being provided credit lines and facilities to run their operations, what it does is that it increases the number of employment opportunities available for businesses that can employ 50 persons, 15, 20 persons, 100 persons, in that order, so that there's job availability for people, and also you have companies, small companies that will transmute tomorrow or in the long run to large organizations. So when credit lines are available, it has a ripple effect on the economy. It provides employment, it provides productivity, adds to the statistics that help to build the economy of a country. So it is important that interests, credits, are provided small businesses in order for them to survive and also provide employment for Nigeria.
Now, SMEs often struggle to penetrate existing markets due to fierce competition from larger firms and a lack of market information. Now, how has this affected the full establishment of SMEs in the country?
Part of the challenges that affect or cause that entrench competition from larger firms will be availability of funds. That is principally one of the key things, apart from management style and a few other things. So whereas large organizations have lifelines, some of them are conglomerates, some of them have built relationship with banks. I can mention a few brands, but I won't, because this is a TV. But there's a man in Nigeria who, if he walks up, a few men in Nigeria, billionaires in business, if they walk up to any bank in Nigeria to say, we need 50 billion naira or 100 billion naira to run this business, to build this refinery or to do this, you know what's going to happen to me? They will be giving these loans. They will be giving these loans. Banks will readily give them these loans. And when an SME goes to banks to ask for these loans, they're not going to be available for them to give. And so that is part of the problem. Stiff competition with larger companies Larger companies have one comeuppance over them, which is funds availability and then management ability, because you have the funds to run your business, you are able to poach or hire the best hands. So you hear of this company employing this MD that is an expatriate, or this MD that was former MD in this place, that used to be a banker here, that used to be the CEO of this company. It happens all over the world. They are celebrated when they come on board, and then they come on board with a great deal of experience, network capabilities, ability to network with other high-flying persons who may be able to either invest or buy their products, do business with them. So that comes with value from being large organizations. But being small, some of these expertise, they can't afford them and they can't access funds to be able to run their business. So that's part of the problem. Then lack of information in the field they play. Thankfully, recently, in the past 10 years plus going down, we have had a resurgence, emphasis on SME growth. So banks and other organizations and also civil society groups have also tried to provide knowledge to bridge the knowledge gaps between SMEs that are doing well and larger organizations. So there's been workshops, there's been a number of fora to equip the owners of SMEs with such skills as would help them function, play in the Nigerian economy. So yes, knowledge gaps provide certain difficulties, certain challenges that, do not allow SMEs to grow as they should. But with the recent provision of this knowledge, these skills in that sector, there's been a great deal of growth. SMEs are now transmuting to companies that can stabilize and actually become useful in Nigeria. So yes, those are the 3 points you raised. 2, I've talked about them, and then funding.
Finally, let's discuss cumbersome business registration processes, obtaining permits, and complying with tax regulations, which also add to the administrative burden faced by SMEs. As a business owner, what measures do you think the government can implement to address these challenges?
Under the Buhari administration, we had the president sign the executive order, what also has been described as ease of doing business policy order, which tried to cut down on a number of companies to run easily. We've also seen recently under the Tinubu administration, for example, that the Minister for the Interior, has successfully and consistently quite well now ensured that there's a cutting down of the process of obtaining an international passport in Nigeria, so that you could do these things within record time. If you look at recent happenings with the Corporate Affairs Commission that has to do with company registration and filing of certain documents that help your company to become registered and continue to function, you find that it's been streamlined to a large extent. You can actually, unlike what happens before you have to go through a lawyer, go through agents, you can actually register your company online by yourself, and the directors or the authorized persons. You could start it and you could put it on your own without actually help businesses to grow. When taxes have been, streamlined to the point that through electronic means, you could actually indeed with a press of a button, with just, a finger at your fingertips with your phone, you could actually access your tax records or send your tax records, which you paid. It eases the strain. Now, take for instance what was happening before. A business owner would leave all that he needs to do to go to the tax office to file documents this way, that way. And sometimes, even after spending all that time, you realize that you haven't achieved what you left your office to do. On the other hand, also, you employ, unquote, now, a tax consultant who goes to do these things for you in the past. And at the end of the day, between himself and some other people out there on the other end, what you are told has been done, hasn't been done. And 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, the government or the courts are dragging the business owner for tax evasion because someone had gone as an agent, a middle person, and hadn't done effectively what he claimed and what he was paid to do. So certain policies of government have a way of affecting the running of businesses. And the sooner these things are done, gladly also, these policies are being put in place. Maybe because government is realizing that a lot of its funds to run the economy will come from taxation. Also, perhaps because the entire rest of the world is actually moving on with making things easy for people to do using technology. So indeed, SMEs, small businesses, whether micro or those that are even below micro, in that sense, can actually do better when the enabling environment afforded them due to the right policies of government.
All right then, Lloyd Onyike, Managing Director, Lloyd on Exposures. Thank you for speaking to us. Well, that's all on this episode of the program. Thank you for watching. See you another time.